This podcast is brought to you by My Place Hotels. My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel sponsor of Front Stretch. With plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels, My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Racing fans, you can now use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% on your stay at any of our nationwide properties. That's 10% off nationwide with code FRONTSTRETCH. This racing season, be sure to make My Place your place. Now, on to happy hour. Welcome on into happy hour. And if you've noticed, back-to-back weeks, no Pew Combs. It's because we're currently, he's getting so famous. There are so many people asking for him. We're currently in negotiations for his future in terms of will he return to happy hour or he might just be lazy. Just tune into next week to see if Pew Combs makes an appearance next week here on happy hour. But welcome in. Michael Massie, Dalton Hopkins are here, and our guest this week is Eric Estepp from, of course, the acclaimed, award-winning. I'm going to try to give it. We'll assume. Is it? I don't know.
I don't have any hardware, but that'd be awesome.
You're way closer to winning an award than us.
He's won awards in my heart.
There we go.
That's very sweet.
But of course, from the YouTube show Out of the Groove. Eric, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you spending some time with us this evening, and happy to have you. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. No, I appreciate the invite. I'm excited to talk a little Homestead Miami Speedway, Martinsville, of course. Couldn't be two more different tracks, frankly. So I think it'll hopefully give us a good opportunity to talk about a few different drivers and hopefully have a good conversation. But I'm happy to be here. Happy to spend one of the happiest hours of my week with the three of y'all.
Michael Massie just wolfing down food. We see how prepared he is this week.
Let's just say I took a little nap before the show instead of eating dinner.
Oh man, yeah. Well, naturally that came first.
It's not like you can't eat after the show.
You couldn't possibly schedule around that. There's no way.
A whole hour.
What other time of the day of the 24 hours do you have to sleep?
Well, let me tell you, I almost didn't make the show. There was a real, where you just get to napping real good and you're just thinking about. I had an alarm set, luckily, and I thought about snoozing that thing and just telling you guys good luck.
And you were like, you know what? They don't need me. What do they need me for? I'm just gonna fall asleep and.
That I would have woken up like 10 p.m. and not been able to actually go to bed tonight.
You would be like, I felt like there was something important I had to do. Oh yeah, there was happy hour. That's not really all that important.
Yeah,
jet lag. It'd be like podcast nap lag if you messed up your sleep schedule.
Well, it's just
Massie would become nocturnal.
He is the old man of this podcast, so it makes sense. He was in the West Coast this weekend, so he was at Thermal. So you know what? I figured it out. He got surrounded by all those rich people at Thermal, and also like the Fox broadcast, he just decided to unplug. And luckily, unlike Fox, he got plugged back in time for the show. So let's dive right into the podcast here. As always, sit back, relax, crack open that cold one, unless you're driving, of course, or you're of age. You have to be 21 and older. This is happy hour. We do ask you to obey the laws. But Eric, as our guest, you are first up in the tee box, and we're allowing you to go first with what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, well, this is quite the honor getting to dictate the first topic of happy hour.
You're in the pole position, if you want to say.
I like it. Bat and lead off. How many sports metaphors can we work into this one transition? I don't know. I know we're going to talk about Kyle Larson in a bit because obviously he was the race winner this weekend, stealing the headlines, almost swept the whole weekend. But I wanted to show some love first and foremost to the killer bees that finished just behind him. I'm not ready to let the whole bee meme die just yet, because finishing just behind Larson was Bowman, Bubba, and Briscoe. 3 drivers that I would say most fans consider playoff contenders, but not necessarily championship contenders, at least coming into this season. I think there are skeptics of all 3, but top 5 finishes at a traditional intermediate, a driver's track, I think made quite the statement. So that's where I kind of wanted to start. We can go wherever you guys typically go from here, but I just wanted to talk a little about Bowman's strong start to the year, 5 top 10 finishes, Bubba Wallace and 2311 showing a lot of, besides the 35 car, showing a lot of speed to start the year, and Chase Briscoe, finally a clean weekend, and they finished top 5. I think folks are sleeping on this team. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, this is. I'm glad you referred to them as the killer bees. I don't know if someone else has referred to them as that, because that's the first time I've heard of it. Outstanding. And nobody else in this podcast has ever referred to them as that at all. And anybody who said they did is a complete liar. So don't believe them. Anybody who's listening, don't believe them at all. Especially nobody that rhymes with Reichel Rassi.
Just go focus on your meal, and we'll do the
go
take
work. Your nap, okay?
I'm not eating now.
No, go enjoy your senior dinner, your senior special.
Argue. Now it's time to tell Dalton he's wrong every.
Yeah, here we go again. He gets one thing right, and now he's got everything over me, I guess. No, so okay, but jokes aside, I mean, first off, Bowman, Bubba, Briscoe, Battlestar Galactica. It's the bees, right? This whole week, I just want to get that in there. I thought that joke like at the beginning of the week, and not a single person, like, I don't feel like it got the credit it deserved. And I thought it
worked
was
it in there pretty naturally. That was solid.
Yeah, I give that about a solid 4 out of 10. No, but so Bowman and Bubba and Briscoe, they all had fantastic races, something that they really needed. And I kind of want to point out something that a lot of people were talking about in Miami this weekend, which is the fact that Homestead is, in fact, it's a driver's track. I kept hearing that term over and over again, in that this is a track that can showcase a driver's talent. They don't have to rely on the car as much as they do at some other racetracks. And hence probably why we saw Kyle Larson as the winner at the end of the race, right? But you also had Bowman and Bubba and Briscoe, and these are 3 guys that I feel have a lot of talent. And we finally got to see a little bit of that this weekend. We got to see them showcase that talent this weekend. I think Bubba's pretty solid in the 1.5 mile tracks. Bowman's had some solid runs there as well. And Briscoe is finally showcasing what he can do in the Joe Gibbs racing car at a normal racetrack, and getting that a second top 5 this year. So these are, but with all that said, we also saw 3 different responses, 3 different emotions at the end of the race. And Bowman, I felt like was a little indifferent. I felt like he was obviously disappointed, but a little bit more like, hey, this is Kyle Larson we're talking about here. If there's anybody I'm going to lose to, I'm glad it's him. Bubba at the end of the race on pit road told us that it's about effing time we got one of these, being a top 5. I feel like he's been overdue on a solid finish, because he has had some good runs so far this year also. And then Briscoe, the same thing. He felt like that this is something that they should have been doing for a long time. So per what Eric was saying, I feel like these are 3 strong teams, and that should be strong, but they haven't had the results that they've been deserving. And we're finally getting them. So Trey, I'm going to pass it along to you. I mean, what did you think of these results? I mean, this is something that could be telling of what these guys can really do at the end for the rest of the year.
Yeah, we can talk more about Bubba and 2311 a little bit later. We should probably dive into deeper about it, but like Alex Bowman's 3rd in points, and that's the one I want to really highlight. I think Chase Briscoe, the fact that it feels like a weight was lifted off his shoulders, the fact that his penalty was won. He essentially just got 100 points back, and I just think that thing finally getting a positive finish on the board is just, they're going to be better by the middle of the season. It's just a new team. But look at Alex Bowman specifically, and I do want to shout out Scott here who said hi to everyone, and then we have whoever this guy is.
Oh,
Whatever.
forget that guy.
Yeah, ban him.
Yeah, but with Bowman, this has been, and speaking of Brian Nolan, we sort of talked about this with Stock Car Scoop when I was filling in for Caleb Barnes, who is actually on the Long John Silver's cruise right now. So shout out to that. And so he's enjoying. He is the #1 Long John Silver's fan in the world. So he won a free. He's on their cruise, so he's enjoying that. And
Eric, the joke is that our producer Caleb Barnes is the world's biggest Long John Silver's fan.
He did he may or may not have done an episode where he sat in a Long John Silver's for it. So we just had this long.
Is he on a cruise or not?
He's actually on a cruise, but it's not the Long John Silver's cruise.
I don't think that exists.
It should.
If it did.
But if it did,
it makes sense. Like, it makes sense because it's, fried fish. Like, I'd rather fried fish on a cruise.
Margaritaville can have a cruise. Why not Long John Silver's?
Exactly.
They
Right?
take you out
Exactly.
fishing
Long John
for the product that they serve.
There you go. Long John Silver's. We just gave you a great business idea. But I think that you have to look at Bowman. It's you look at basically, what was it? The start of the playoffs last year. Is Alex Bowman getting replaced by Justin Haley? Like, that was the rumor.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Haley comes to Spire. There's all this rumor about Bowman getting replaced. And Bowman's been one of the best in the sport since the start of the last playoffs. He just didn't have enough points built up at the time. And I think a big reason why is he finally got healthy. Like, he came off of a concussion and then a broken back. Like, those things take time. Like, both injuries, and back-to-back injuries like that, where you're out of the car. So I think for him, getting a full season under his belt last year, kind of to refix himself. He got going during the playoffs, had a great playoffs, and then he's had a great start to the season. He's third in points. The only two guys ahead of him are his teammates and William Byron and Kyle Larson, Kyle Larson and William Byron. And he's just been really good this year. And I think he's carrying momentum from the end of last season where he's been really good. And whether this, I don't ever believe he was going to get replaced, but it clearly did something to him. And he has been really good for now a 15 race stretch. And that's not nothing. Whereas you go back was the back injury first or the concussion first?
Concussion, I think.
Concussion, right?
Yeah.
Concussion. Was it?
Yes. I want to say it was the concussion. Yeah.
So remember pre-concussion, I think it was either the concussion or the back injury. He was first in points. And then obviously he had the injuries and that took him out of the playoffs that year. But he is back to that form where he could contend for a top spot in the points where he's third right now. So I think, people forget getting over injuries are hard, and it's kind of, you can't, it's not like other sports where there's this natural timetable. Like, the guy's out 6 weeks and then he comes back. It's a racing injury. Like, he raced with a broken back. That's just not easy. What do you think, Massie? Oh, go ahead, Eric.
Sorry, I wanted to just jump in because I also thought it was really cool to hear Jeff Gordon post-race kind of throw some extra support behind Bowman, say, hey, this is our guy. Because think about this weekend. On Friday, there were 3 trucks with HendrickCars.com on the hood. So, Byron is young, winning a lot of races. Larson, Elliott are champions. Bowman's the odd guy out. I don't blame him for potentially looking in his rearview mirror and seeing these Corey Days, these Rajat Caruths, maybe a Haley, a Hocevar, and saying, damn, I got to go. So that under that kind of pressure, I think that's what made the end of last season and the start to this season even more impressive. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Well, I think there's total, the rumors last year about him, getting replaced. I know, ultimately didn't happen. But I think if you're at one of those big teams and you're not getting the job done, there's always the possibility that you can get replaced and someone it's a cutthroat job out there. And it's been happening for decades that the big teams will be developing young talent to come in and replace you if you do start to not do as well. I mean, look no further than Byron coming in to replace Casey Kane when he wasn't getting the job done at Hendrick. But it is really cool to see Bowman finally back to himself, because I'm looking at his stats, and like 2021, that was his breakout year. He won 4 races that year. Then the next year, I believe he was, forgive me if I'm remembering this incorrectly, but I believe he was still in the playoffs when he had the concussion and had to step out basically.
Yeah.
And then he has the back injury leading the points, like Trey said. So it's like just one hit after another after his breakout season. And it seemed like it was the end of last year where things finally started to kind of get going again for him. And like maybe he's finally back to it where he was in 2021 form. And if so, then the rest of the field needs to look out, because it's very possible we could see all 400 cars, that box out the rest of the competition for those championship 4 spots if it comes down to it. The other guys, though, Briscoe, it's just a matter of time. It's him in a new place. I think he probably formed bad habits in where he was racing, just because they were going out of business. It wasn't as good as a Joe Gibbs racing car, and he's probably getting the most he could out of that car. Now he's got a car that can win races, and I think it's just about it's that next step of learning how to run up there at the front of the field in the Cup Series. He's won races. Obviously he knows how to do that a little bit, but just consistently being up there. And Bubba will get into later, but the 2311, I mean, Bubba has been fast at both mile and a halves so far, Vegas and Homestead. Vegas, he gets caught up in whatever Bell and Blaney were doing, choosing that, they don't, even though they're 4 wide, we're not going to race like we're 4 wide. But yeah, so it is really cool to just see the Killer Bees. Kyle Larson, what are you doing? Change your last name to Blarson or something like that.
Did you see what Carson Hocevar did?
PTA's newest protagonist?
He put a B in front of.
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
It did until it didn't. Until his Benjamin blew up.
True.
No, that's Ryan Blaney.
Blaney. I'm sorry. Yeah, we have
Blaney's
electrical
blew up.
Something?
Yeah. Something electrical with Hocevar. I'm sorry. Has he changed his Twitter handle yet, or is it still Bosavar?
I don't know.
I saw it today. It was still Blosavar.
I think it was still Bosavar.
Might as well keep going.
The power of the B is still strong, I think, because the Bees still led the most laps on Sunday. And Blaney. So, and for the longest time, we thought Blaney was going to win, and then for a while, we thought Bowman was going to win too. I know we need to move on. I'm sorry, but I do just want to send a little bit of a love letter to Alex Bowman real fast, because it's like what you guys have been saying, and Massie I felt like he kind of illustrated the point that I was going to make, which was no matter what team you drive for, no matter where you are, no matter how many drivers are on that team, if you are not number one, if you're last on that totem pole, if you're at the bottom of that totem pole, you are on the chopping block. You are always nervous. Look at what happened in Formula One today. Liam Lawson, 2 races in to his first year with Red Bull Racing, just 2 races, and he lost his ride to Yuki Tsunoda. I mean, I know that's Formula One, but we've seen that happen in NASCAR too. I mean, maybe not mid-season.
Wait, is that confirmed?
Yeah, confirmed today.
Oh, it was okay.
Today. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's stupid. That's just dumb as
crazy.
2 races.
It's Red Bull, man. It's Red Bull. But my point being is that I feel like Alex Bowman has always had that. I don't want to say that monkey on his back, because look at his teammates. Look at what Kyle Larson has done. I mean, before he even went to Hendrick, he was already this phenom, right? This dirt racing phenom, won all these races and did all this fantastic stuff. Rookie of the Year in 2014, 2021 champion, blah, blah, blah. William Byron, Xfinity Series champion, did all this fantastic stuff. He was an iRacing phenom, rose through the ranks really quickly. Chase Elliott, son of NASCAR legend Bill Elliott, won Xfinity Series championship, became most popular driver, still most popular driver, and then you got Alex Bowman. What did he do before he went to Hendrick? He got picked by go ahead.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you were
he
going to
got-
say it.
He got picked by Dale Earnhardt Jr.
That was his claim to fame.
That was his claim to fame. But
Hey,
and
so was
everyone
the guy who won last week.
you're not wrong, but think about what people discount that. But Dale Earnhardt Jr. has picked some phenomenal drivers. I mean, champions to go out and win. Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, like just two right off the bat, right off the top of my head. I mean, this is Tyler Reddick. Like these are guys that he notices something. And I think we should put a little bit more faith in Alex Bowman, even though he may not be as good as his three other teammates. The fact that he has gone out there and performed, despite the fact that he's had injuries twice, that has taken him out of the season, he's still recovering and still contending for race wins.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll move to our next topic here, and it does bring into focus Kyle Larson, as he mentioned, and Michael Massie. We talked enough about Kyle Larson winning at Homestead this weekend. I feel like that's been touched. He was so close to the history. I'm gonna officially call it the Kyle Busch sweep because he's the only one to do it. Sweep all three races. I feel like that's fair to do at this point. Larson goes for it again, I believe, at Bristol coming up. So we'll see if he does it again. But Larson made interesting comments about the Gen 6 car, and I figured you wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, he acted like he would have a lot more Cup wins if we'd stayed with the Gen 6 car instead of moving to the next gen, which, to be fair, the last year of Gen 6, he won 11 races and he won a championship. And all of a sudden we get a next gen where it's not Hendrick manufacturing its own stuff. It's all, everyone's getting the single source suppliers, buying stuff from there, assembling the cars like a big old Lego project. And it's just a lot more parity we've seen since then. And so there's certainly some validity, but I mean, at the same time, it is the Cup Series. It is, we don't see those 10-win seasons, but maybe once a decade or something like once every 15 years. So what do you guys think? Are his claims true? Would he have a lot more wins than we can kick off with you, Eric? If Larson, if we stay in Gen 6, where do you think Larson's standing on this whole win thing?
Well, I did the math the other day on my show. So he had 6 wins when he got to Hendrick. I hate to take this literally, but he had 6 wins when he got to Hendrick, won 10 points races in 2020 or 2021. So that gets him to 16. Let's say he averages 10 wins a year since then, which is a little crazy. He'd be at 46. So still not quite to 50. So he's embellishing slightly, but his point is correct. I think if they were still in the Gen 6, he would have more wins than he has now. It's not a guarantee because even in the Gen 6, Kevin Harvick won 9 races in 2020, 0 races in 2021 in the Gen 6. So rules change, teams find and lose certain advantages in the previous generation. So there's no guarantee, but it's no secret Larson likes to drive a loose race car. And I think the next gen, typically you got to drive it off the right front a little more. And we've seen that, I think, impact Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott. Other drivers have had to adjust their driving style. Kyle Larson, I think, has had to step outside of his comfort zone with this car. And while he hasn't gotten the 50 wins, and maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't have, that's hypothetical. I do think we can respect and applaud Larson's adaptability because even though he's not winning 10 races a year in the next gen, he's still winning 3, 4, 5, 6. He won 6 races just last year in the next gen car. Like he's still dominating more frequently than anyone else, despite the parity, despite the fact that, this is crazy. In 2021, Larson had 10 wins himself. In 2022, there were 19 different winners that season. Like the parity just, whoa. Yet Larson continues to put up a crooked number in the win column, continues to make deep playoff runs every year. Nobody dominates a race quite like Larson does. Like back in the day when I was a young fan, anytime I saw that Lowe's 48 bumper in my guy Matt Kenseth's windshield, I got nervous. I'm like, it's over. We're cooked. It's like the Jaws theme playing. I feel like fans today have to feel the same way whenever they see that Hendrick car's number 5 in their rearview mirror. Like, you just know he's coming. And that he's able to be that dominant still, despite the spec car, despite changing his driving style, I think speaks to his versatility, which I guess we all knew he was versatile. This is just further evidence of that.
Alex Bowman felt the pressure. That's why he hit the wall. He knew the 5 car was coming.
Dun, 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 dun,
Exactly.
dun, dun.
Exactly.
So, what do you think about this, Dalton?
Well, I mean, so you know what's interesting is that I actually put out an article. This was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago in 2023. I did a 4 burning questions article that was released on for frontstretch.com, and one of the questions was, how many wins does Larson get? Like, how high does he fly? You know, by the end of his career. And really, I didn't. I gotta be honest, I didn't do a whole lot of mathematics. I didn't put in a whole lot of, like, you know, equations or things like that. I just kind of took the number of his wins and, you know, took the time that he's been in the Cup Series and, you know, how successful he's been with Hendrick Motorsports. And this was 23. So this was after he was coming off a three win season. And then before that, it was a 10-win season. But I took all that and I got it. I think I got it to 94. I think 94 wins was the amount I got. And I just kind of based that off of the fact that I'm assuming that he's going to retire probably by like age 41, 42. That's probably not where he's going to cut it off. I can imagine that Kyle Larson's probably going to go a little bit farther than that. But to what Eric was saying is that this next gen car also has, I feel like it's nullified that, or it's numbed that a little bit because of how much parity there is. But despite that, look at these last 3 years. 2022, he got 3 wins. Okay. 23, he got 4 wins. Last year, he got 6. He's already got 1 win, and we're only 6 races into the season. I mean, I smell another possible 6 to 7 win season for Kyle Larson, and he's only going to get better. That's kind of what was happening with the Gen 6, is that, yes, I mean, there wasn't as much parity, but there were teams that were getting better and better and better and better as they learned more about this car. Cliff Daniels is like the modern day version of Chad Canals. He has gotten so he's a smart, very intelligent crew chief, and he has learned this next gen car almost to perfection. He's adapted, and not to mention it also helps that he's got Kyle Larson behind the wheel. So I don't think he's going to get 94, but when it comes to the Gen 6 car, does he have 50 by now? I don't know about that, but he's definitely really close. And I think that with the Gen 6, he's going to reach 50 easily by the end of his career.
Yeah, it's the weird
Gen 7. I apologize. The next gen.
Yeah. I mean, he was the what? He's one of the fastest to get to 30, like the lit, which is insane.
Considering how much time he wasted too with Ganassi.
That too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
what
Ganassi
car. Like, well, Kurt Busch did too. But think about, like, he was real. Like he was like, he got that Ganassi car closer to the championship 4th than anyone.
Didn't he have a 4-win season with Ganassi?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
2017.
I mean, he's like, imagine if he's, you know, at Hendrick Motorsports, you know, right from the onset. Like, he might be at.
He'd be Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon numbers.
Yeah. Like, the weird part is, you think in your head, like, no, he would not be at 50 wins if, you know, he's at 30 now. So that means he would have to get 20 more wins since 2021, like, essentially, or 22. And it's something like, no, that can't happen. And then you're like, but if anyone can, it's Kyle Larson. Like, that's the thing. It's like, you kind of sit there and you're like, no, but if anyone could, it's Kyle Larson. Like, it's just, he is one of, if not the most raw driving talent we've ever seen behind the wheel in the Cup Series. And it's incredible to see, because he has proven it. You know, he just wins, man. He just wins, and you saw all his raw driving talent on Saturday in the Xfinity Series, where you know he just he stunk up the show for most of it until like I don't know what happened that late race caution, but we don't have to talk about that. But it just showed like how much better he is at just this one thing that there are good race car drivers that are good at it. Like Tyler Reddick is good at riding the fence, but Kyle Larson is just better. It's incredible to see. So I don't know. Like it's dumb. I'm not good at math. Like, but if anyone could do it, it's Kyle Larson. But you bring up the parity, and we're going to talk about like a 2311 earlier. Do you get the emergent? Maybe without the Gen 6, it happens because you don't get the emergence of a 2311. You don't get the emergence of a Trackhouse. You don't get the growth from FRM. You don't get maybe RCR doesn't have the flashes that it did in this next gen car era because the parity is so much better in this generation of vehicle. And that's the point behind it. It was supposed to be, to bring the field closer together, to increase winners. You have done that. NASCAR has accomplished its goal, but now you're going to have these records where it's way harder to win now. So the fact that maybe his 30 wins now equals, I don't know, 40-ish wins in a different era because it's so much harder to win now.
Yeah. The parity. Oh, sorry, Eric.
No, go ahead.
I was to say the parity thing. I think as far as like winning races, I only really use the 2022 season as the parity season because that's when you did have a bunch of teams sprouting up and winning. Now I think the cream has risen to the top. Look at the point standings. The top 3 in points are all Hendrick Motorsports. That's some good old parity for you. So I don't know. I think he could have won more races than 22, but like 23, William Byron was better than him that year. Maybe if it's Gen 6, then maybe it's a different story because Byron didn't really take off till they got to the next gen car. But I think Byron would have figured out the Gen 6 eventually. And last year, like, I don't know. Last year, Larson was great. Maybe he could have won some more races. But I think 22 is the other year you could say he would have won more. But I don't really see that for 23. It really just felt like a down year for that 5-car team. And the other thing, like, it's only – I don't get the number 50 because I feel like the dominant seasons in the Gen 6 era were like – every once in a while you'd have a 10-win season. For the most part, it was like 8 wins. Like the best driver would have 8 wins. Now the best driver gets about 6 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins. So that's only accounting for a handful of wins there. So I don't know, but that's just me. Eric, you had more to say on this matter?
I just wanted to ask one more question before we move on, and that it can be a simple question. Dalton kind of threw out, I think, a pretty high number earlier. I don't know that Larson races Cup into his 40s. I think there's a real chance he retires by 40 to go do dirt, but he's at 30 wins now. How many wins do you guys think he ends up with at year's end? Trey, I'll put you on the spot. Unless you want me to go first.
His career's end or his year it? Like the end of
career's
this year?
end. He's at 30 now. How many wins do you think he'll have for his career?
What's Jimmy at?
Jimmy
I think
got
he becomes
84, I think. Or is it 83? I think it was 83.
And Jeff said 94.
Jeff said
93.
I think his is 93 or 95.
Jeff was at like 92.
But Jeff was one of those guys.
Gosh golly.
I'll say, you know what? Screw it.
There
Screw
was
it,
a way
100.
we could look this up.
I think
100.
he's going to attack. I think he's wants triple digits. Wow. I something in me thinks he wants a big number. So I'm going to go 100. I'm going to go bold.
So I'll throw mine out there real quick. I think it's like 60. To kind of like, I think Michael said it a second, or no, you said it, Trey, that like 30 is the new 40 because of the spec car bringing everyone closer together. So I think I could see him racing 8 more years. He's 32 years old now. I could see him going 8 more years in Cup. And let's say he averages 4 wins a year. That'd put him at 62 for his career, give or take. So I think he gets to around 60, 65. That'd be my guess.
That's a way better number than me.
100. I like your thinking with 100. I mean, if he hits 100, that's a headline right there. And I like headlines.
I could see him racing 50. I could see him
I-
racing to 50.
Oh, he could and could win probably until he's close to 50. I just don't. I feel like he won't.
See, I guess like he would go to like 42 when I
Yeah.
wrote that article like a few years ago.
I could see that. That's in the ballpark.
See, because I mean, but Eric, you make a great point. Is that Larson is not the kind of guy that only 6-1 motorsport. He wants to go out and do more. So I can kind of see him moving on and going to like dirt and just tearing it up there.
I don't know what
But-
article it was. Sorry to interrupt, but he did come out recently and say that over the past couple of years, his mindset has changed when it comes to NASCAR, that he wants to end as the greatest ever. And I think the fact that's why I think 100. If he gets 100 Cup Series wins,
Yeah.
it's
I
because I don't think championships, the 7 titles don't mean as much. Like the titles number doesn't mean as much. If he gets to the 100 wins, then he has a real argument for the GOAT conversation.
Massie, it looked like you were going to say something.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying it's hard to call yourself the go to something when you only have one championship, which I get it's watered down, but still.
It's also hard to call yourself the go to something when NASCAR has changed so dramatically over the years.
You can never compare the eras.
Yeah, because like I've heard people say, "Oh, well, Kyle Busch is the GOAT," and it's like, well, he's only got 2 championships,
Yeah.
and he's only got this many wins. But it's like, well, he raced in the modern era, so it's different than what Richard Petty or Dale Earnhardt went through. And it's like, okay, well, it's the LeBron and Michael Jordan argument.
Yeah, I like people who divide it by decade. Like so and so is the GOAT of this.
Yeah.
Then I think you can really have a good discussion.
For sure.
I think if things stay the way they are right now, we stick to the next gen car. My number was actually around where Eric's was. It was 70. That's where my guess is, because I think he's going to continue improving. Now, I don't think he's going to be 21 form for a while. I don't think we're going to see a 10-win season out of him, and if at least not in the next couple of years. We might see it at around when he's like 36, 37. I could see that happening. But if things stay stagnant in the way they are right now and not much changes, I see him getting to 70.
I think he'll get somewhere between 68 and 70 wins. Somewhere between 68 and 70. I don't know where between that, but
I'm putting the minimum. I'm putting the minimum at 61 because Hamlin has said that he wants to get to 60, and that's when he might think about hanging it up. I know for a fact Kyle Larson wants to get at least one more than Denny Hamlin, so I think 61 is the minimum.
What if he gets one more than him and then he just quits? It's like mid-season.
That's the Daytona 500. He still needs to win Daytona 500. That's the last crown jewel he's got to win.
And then Denny Hamlin replaces him. He comes out of retirement to replace him. He's like, nope, not happening.
Jimmy Johnson.
And they just keep flipping. They keep flipping the vehicle.
Wow.
All right. Before we continue, I do want to talk to Michael Massie about our presenting sponsor, My Place Hotels. Massie, you actually stayed in a My Place Hotel all this week. So, all last week when you were in between Vegas and Thermal. So, what was your experience like there?
I thought it was a phenomenal experience. It was easy check-in. The room was nice. I mean, they have like a kitchen area in there. You could get some pots and pans and cook yourself a meal. It's very clean, spacious, nice bathroom, nice shower, good water pressure. I love me some good water pressure.
That's the best. Like in a hotel, I want good water pressure and I want like a good bed, and like the rest can kind of be the bare minimum.
Yeah. Good. The AC was working. It was pretty hot out there on the West Coast, and that AC was working. That was important as well. And I did this show from it. So what does that tell you? That tells you the Wi-Fi was good. And you need some good Wi-Fi when you're on the road. I can't recommend My Place Hotel enough.
Well, My Place Hotel is proud to be the official hotel sponsor of Front Stretch, with plush beds, in-room kitchens, as Massie was mincing, and even pet-friendly hotels to bring your pets with you. My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Racing fans, you can use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% on your stay at any of our nationwide properties. That's 10% off nationwide with code FRONTSTRETCH. This racing season, be sure to make My Place your place. Thanks so much to My Place Hotels for sponsoring us. You can go to myplacehotels.com. If my Vanna Dalton Hopkins can point to the lovely little graphic we have right there, myplace.hotels.com, 10% off your next stay with promo code FRONTSTRETCH. Thank you, Dalton, Vanna White, Hopkins. Speaking of Dalton Hopkins,
real quick, I do want to throw in that you also don't have to go to the hallway to get ice from the ice machine. They got a full-size fridge in there where it just makes its own ice. I love myself some ice. So
yes, as someone who's had to stay with Michael Massie at a hotel, he goes to the ice machine a lot. A lot. But that's an underrated, nice little luxury to have there. All right, moving on to our next topic here on Happy Hour, Dalton. So Homestead championship race. Spoiler alert: it's very popular as a choice. We don't necessarily want to talk about that part itself. It's more of, I guess, the political side of things with Jordan Bianchi's report about the money coming from Homestead. I know you wanted to touch on that stuff and kind of the way it could play out.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot. Obviously, the rumor is pretty significant right now about Homestead coming back as the championship race in 2026. And as much as I believe everybody would love to see that, obviously Jordan came out with a report saying that what really it comes down to is that this is a business first, and Phoenix is paying money to have NASCAR come to Phoenix Raceway for the championship race. The city of Phoenix is paying that money that the city of Miami is not. And the problem with that is that Phoenix doesn't have a Formula One Grand Prix there. So that's kind of what they're asking out of Miami, who's already hosting a world-renowned race. I mean, I would argue probably more well-known than that Miami NASCAR race being hosted there. And now they're asking for Miami to pay for that as well. And also they have the World Cup next year. So that's a huge ask from a city that's already doing so much when it comes to sporting events, not to mention the fact that they won a cup race in that city, in that area, in November, at the same time during NFL season where the Miami Dolphins are playing. There is already so much going on.
Nobody cares about that last detail, I don't think.
Yeah, they might suck by then. So,
well,
and I don't think the Hurricanes,
but the fans
college
care.
can be better by then.
But the fans care. The fans in the area care. They're still Dolphins fans. Like they still will rather probably go to an NFL game than they will with the NASCAR championship. So there is already a huge ask there. So the question is, how much is NASCAR willing to say? How much decision does NASCAR make, or how much emphasis does NASCAR make on their own decision, saying, nope, we don't care about any of this. We don't care about how much money you're going to give us. We are making an executive decision, and we need to go to Miami. We got to get away from Phoenix. And before I give that to everyone else, I do want to point out Anthony Damcott, who wrote Thinking Out Loud this week. I want to give him a shout out because he made a great point that I thought I had not really thought about, is that Phoenix also just had the option tire race, which I would argue is probably one of the best races Phoenix has had in a while. So maybe Phoenix isn't that bad anymore when it comes to hosting a championship race. And of course, there's other rumors about, maybe Las Vegas hosting it in 2027. Eric, you're like.
Wait, can I get a plug in? Oh, speaking of Anthony Damcott, he was on the morning warm up with Trey Lyle this morning. So check that out wherever you get your podcast.
Wow. Everyone should definitely check that out right now.
So he,
Not right now.
Not right.
I'm sorry. No, not right now. You should check that out after this is over.
After we're done.
It's the best morning radio show you can listen to at 7:30 in the morning this side of the Mississippi.
In Lynchburg, Virginia.
In Lynchburg, Virginia.
But you can get it wherever you get your podcast, so anyone can listen to it.
That's right.
And if you want to see me go through a major technical issue, listen to today's episode. Sorry, Eric.
Eric, what do you say? What do you know?
I don't know anything, but I know how I feel. And I've been a Phoenix defender more so than others. The racing at Homestead trumps Phoenix. That's how I feel. I think it's a good balance between man and machine. Drivers have to stay focused up against the wall. Got to get the setup just right. Engine tuners got to get it right. They didn't in the case of Team Penske this last weekend, and we saw it cost them. So I think from a racing standpoint, which is the most important thing, Homestead over Phoenix, even with the option tire. That's how I feel about it. But kind of to everything Dalton just talked about, everything outside of the racing, Phoenix does really, really well. They obviously spend money to host that race. The facility has been recently renovated, is much nicer, more up to date than Homestead Miami Speedway. It's still a major market. And again, to your point, Dalton, it's probably a less crowded sports market. There's no F1 race in Arizona. There's no, I don't know, there probably is World Cup somewhere, somehow, but it's not.
I think there's going to be in Glendale. I think
there could be some at like probably at the, whatever the Cardinal Stadium is, I'm sure, but it's not the soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. It's probably not the same cultural phenomenon in Phoenix, Arizona as it is in Miami, Florida. So point is, Phoenix does a lot of things well. I think hopefully in the future, NASCAR ends up doing this rotation that's been rumored. If they go from Homestead to Vegas, I think Phoenix should be on that rotation, and I think Homestead should be on that rotation. Both are, I think, good tracks. Homestead's obviously better, but atmosphere-wise, Phoenix has done enough the past 4 years to, I think, still host a championship date. I mean, they sell that. I know it's only 40,000 seats, but they sell it out every fall. Phoenix has removed, or I'm sorry, Homestead has removed seats, and even when it was a round of 8 race last year, there were a lot of gaps in the grandstands, frankly. So there's a lot of challenges, but the actual racing product is absolutely best at Homestead. So I hope they get a championship date, at least one, sooner rather than later.
Phoenix also doesn't get forest fires.
That's
right next to it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I was going to say Phoenix is the Virginia Tech football of NASCAR. Great entrance, great vibe, great atmosphere, terrible on-field product. And that's a joke for Virginia Tech class of 2019 right there. Go Hokies.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I don't get is nobody's come up with the idea yet. All you need is 2 helicopters and some chains.
Exactly.
Hook the chains to each corner, and you just lift both tracks up, and you just swap them around, and then problem solved. Championship at the now 1.5 mile track in Phoenix.
That's the solution. But I agree with you, Eric, in terms of I think it's the atmosphere. Like, okay, so the best like photo in sports is like the Rose Bowl, like going from the third to the fourth quarter when the sunset hits the mountains, like, and you have the football. Like, that's the perfect like TV wise like picture you can make. But that late race picture with the sunset and the race being decided in Phoenix is a really good like picture. Like, it's a really, it's always a good vibe. The fans, it's a loyal fan base. It's just unfortunate that the track, doesn't produce the best product of racing. And I think the vibe would be different if the same team didn't win the last 3 years. And it feels like one team has an advantage that others don't. And that's why I think the rotation should go in. Because here's the thing. It's already been proven at Homestead, like back-to-back years, Tyler Reddick was not the best in the Xfinity Series. But since he was the best at Homestead in the Xfinity Series, he won 2 titles. And you could say the same thing now about Larson in the Cup Series, like where it'd probably be more competitive. But if Larson's in that championship 4, he's going to be the heavy favorite at Homestead. So at least if you rotate him, you can't build up that advantage that I think kind of plays into the fact that people are so disinterested in the format of winning in and the winning in the championship 4 and everything with it. Because, well, if one, it's kind of like the Chiefs. Like, people got tired of the Chiefs because they kept winning. Well, people are tired of this format because Penske keeps winning. So I think ultimately it should be a rotation. If I had to pick one, I'd pick Homestead over Phoenix because I'd rather the rate, like, no offense to the fans, like, I'd rather the racing be better than the stadium, I'd rather I want the racing to matter the most. It's deciding a champion, If we had a Super Bowl and the better option to play the game was a high school field or the Superdome because the Superdome has a leak. Play the game in the high school field. I do not care. It's just, that's the better option. So it's just that's where ultimately I land is I hope something can get worked out with this investment. It seems like it's 70-30 is the option. Obviously, Miami being Miami and everything that plays along with that, a lot plays into it. But luckily, Stephen Ross is putting the bill up a lot for the Miami F1 Grand Prix. And he doesn't have any connection to Homestead Miami Speedway. So unlike he does with the Dolphin Stadium where the F1 Grand Prix takes place. So I hope it happens and we'll see. I think ultimately rotation, I like hearing Vegas is one of the choices because I think that's just Vegas is always a cool venue to have a championship. But what do you think, Massie?
Yeah, I think more so than a rotation or anything like that. The 3-race championship. I know Denny Hamlin's been a huge advocate for that. You have that, it doesn't matter what the last race is at that point. It could be Phoenix or Homestead. I mean, it just matters what 3 tracks make up the final round. And then you could have some vying for that, but I think Martinsville, Phoenix, Homestead would be heck of a combo for 3 races to end it. But yeah, because nobody cared where the finale was for the first 65 years of NASCAR or something like that, because it was just another race. But then they put all this emphasis on one race, and now it's a huge ordeal. And I don't know. So that I hope for the 3-race finale, whenever they do make more changes to the playoffs. If they don't do that, then yes, the rotation I do believe is the way to go, because otherwise, like you said, Trey, if it's one track year after year, it's going to favor certain drivers. Certain drivers have certain tracks that they're good at, and that way it just keeps you on your toes. Like I wish you could do like you don't know what the championship is. I know that would never happen, but
I love the idea. It's logistically impossible, but what if like the top seeded driver gets to pick the championship venue?
Oh man,
so
like
great.
that's like their home field advantage that they get. But you can't do that. But.
Or they just pick the 10 tracks are set. It's just they get to pick the order of the 10 tracks of the championship.
Oh my god, that'd be
so
chaos.
that you know what, like, logistically you can sort of plan. It's like
as somebody who knows people who work in that industry, that would be an absolute nightmare.
I can
It's
imagine.
like
Fun for us.
Well, that's like Kansas in November. I don't know if that would.
There we go. Absolutely. Watkins
Someone-
Glen in November. Let's do it.
As someone who
SVG in the final 4 pick
Yes.
Chicago.
Yes.
they have to build the track in a week.
Yeah, they're like, whoops.
No, as someone who's lived in Kansas in November, I think we would have a lot of wrecked race cars because all of a sudden a 50-mile-per-hour gust would just hit the track. Not just the cold. It would be like severe wind. That sucks. All right. Moving to our final topic. And we sort of talked about this with the Killer Bees reference that Eric made. But 18 or in the top 8 spots of the championship right now in terms of points, 3 teams occupy that. Hendrick Motorsports, not shocking. Joe Gibbs Racing, not shocking. And the third being 2311 Racing with Tyler Reddick coming in at 4th, Bubba Wallace coming in at 7th. We could get bold here and say, are they the top Toyota team? They're essentially 2 other Joe Gibbs cars. I don't know if we want to say that, but 2311 establishing itself as a top tier team. What do you think about that? They have clearly shown a lot of speed this year. Obviously, Tyler Reddick being the regular season champion and carrying that over. Bubba has been consistently around the top, 10 to 15 in points these last 3 years. It seems he's gone up another level this season, and we can talk about that as well. But do you think, and the fact they're suing NASCAR and that big distraction at the same time, and they are clearly making a heavy investment with airspeed. What are your thoughts on, and Eric, you can go first here, 2311 establishing itself, maybe clearing that Trackhouse FRM RCR tier and getting more towards the top tier teams in NASCAR right now?
Yeah, I mean, this is year 5 for 2311, and Denny Hamlin always said by year 5, this should be a championship contending team. I would argue they got there in year 4 with Tyler Reddick, obviously being very consistent during the 26 race regular season, up and down in the playoffs, but still made it to the championship 4. Yeah, it's been great that the first 6 races so far, Reddick still seems to have that same speed. You know, the results again kind of up and down. He was disappointed with an 8th place run at Homestead, but if you're disappointed with 8th, you must be doing something pretty well. He's top 5 in points, I believe you mentioned earlier. But Bubba Wallace has caught up as well. Like Bubba Wallace has, like you said, been in that 10th, closer to 15th in points, and you know, in 2023, he made the drivers' playoffs because Chase Elliott was injured for 6 weeks or whatever it was. But that car has never made the owners' playoffs. But this feels like the year that Bubba Wallace kind of sort of breaks out, because not only is he, you know, running up front, I think he has the 3rd most stage points so far this year. He's also led, I think, close to 100 laps. And Homestead, where he was fast. This is the big difference. Homestead last fall, he was fast, ran in the top 5, top 10 much of the day, but got shuffled back late and never recovered. Bubba Wallace did not run in the top 5 all day this weekend, but worked his way forward steadily, was able to make passes, make moves, and was in contention for the win late. That's development, in my opinion. And I think part of this fast start has to be credited to his new crew chief. I think kind of the MO for the last 2, 3, 4 years was, you know, they start the year kind of slow. By the summer, they're stringing together some top 5s and top 10s, and then maybe they win a race in the fall. You know, Bubba's 2 wins have both come after he was eliminated from the playoffs already. This year, they're starting strong, which means if they follow the same trajectory as years past, they'll be winning races in the summer and maybe contending for a championship in the fall. I mean, that's a long shot, sure, but you got to like the trajectory of the 23 team right now. I know a lot of folks love Booty Barker. He's great, experienced, straight shooter, but I think it was time to make a change there. And so far, so good, bringing Charles Denicky over from the 19 truck, where he's been very successful with Christian Eckes the past couple of years. So far, that seems to be paying dividends. So I think Reddick's doing Reddick things. Bubba Wallace has been the pleasant surprise to start this year.
Yeah, I feel like Reddick hasn't even been that good, really. Like, he hasn't. I feel like you haven't really seen him up front or anything, and he's still 4th in points. So eventually, I feel like stuff's going to start clicking for him, and he's going to be up there winning races. So, like, they're right there, the top 8 in points, both of them. I feel like neither one has hit their ceiling yet. So the best is yet to come for that team this year, but it does feel like they're the best. I say this knowing Christopher Bell won 3 straight races. It feels like they're the best Toyota team right now, doing better than the team that gives them a lot of intel, Joe Gibbs Racing, just because, like, overall, I know Bell and Hamlin have been fast, but Hamlin's had some weeks where he didn't look too great. Bell's been hit or miss. And then the other, like, Briscoe finally had a good week. And then the last place car at Joe Gibbs Racing right now is I'm starting to think maybe I could finish where he's finishing right now.
And add to that, Riley Herbst is actually ahead of Ty Gibbs in the points right now.
I was gonna mention, you know, we're talking about Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, but I often, every week, I keep forgetting that 2311 has expanded to a 3-car team with Riley Herbst. Now, first off, before I say what I'm going to say, I don't think Riley Herbst is a bad driver by any means. I think he won 2 races last year, and I would argue he absolutely stomped the field at Phoenix, and he had a great run at Indianapolis too, a very thrilling finish. I think he's got talent, but the problem is that now he's in this Cup car, and it's almost like he's got to start all over again, because now he's got to get used to the next gen car. And a lot of rookies who get thrusted into the Cup Series, they take a couple of years to develop. I don't know if Riley Herbst is going to be offered those couple of years. I mean, I know he brings in sponsorship, but as of right now, I know he's higher than Ty Gibbs at the moment, but his best finish is 17th. This year. Ty Gibbs' best finish is 16th at least. So he's got that on him. Okay. He's got that. No,
He did
still
3
no
weeks
top
in a row, didn't he?
between the
Feel
both
a
of them.
little
No
bit-
top 15.
Feel a little better, Ed Lane. Feel a little bit better.
So, but their average finishes, his average finish is bringing down 2311's overall statistics, I guess. And I guess that kind of goes to show how much Tyler Reddick has grown. And to Eric's point, I also feel like that Bubba Wallace, there is a lot to be hopeful for there, and that is because he no longer has Booty Barker. He's got Charles Danique. So it's a different crew chief, and we've seen crew chief changes make a huge difference. I think Bubba Wallace has got the talent, but maybe whatever it was with Booty Barker, it just wasn't working out. And he still won a couple races, but now he's got this new guy, and he had a great run at Homestead. Tyler Reddick is Tyler Reddick, of course, so I think they're going to be well. But I'll leave y'all with this: is that when it comes to them versus Joe Gibbs, I don't think they're the better Toyota team, but I also don't think they're worse. I think they're just exactly where Joe Gibbs Racing is right now, which is not great, but still a race-winning team. Now, a championship winning team, I'm not so sure about, and that's even for Tyler Reddick, because it feels like last year Tyler Reddick was on this high, and everyone was expecting him to maybe win the championship, and he's going to contend at Phoenix, and then we didn't see him at all the entire race at Phoenix. So
Yeah.
I think they're still in the growing phase, but like maybe after this year, like there's no more excuses. Like they need to be winning. They need to be contending for race wins every single week. And right now they're just about there.
I also think with Bubba, and it's been talked about a lot, whether it's on the broadcast, or whether you listen to like Freddie Kraft, Wonder Bumper Clear, having a son has just changed his perspective. I think it's made him less of an emotional driver, which has made him a better race car driver. You could tell. I mean, that final lap was great audio where he's like, "I have a flat tire," because they've had like 5 weeks of like the worst luck outside of Atlanta. And Freddie's like, "What?" And he's like, "I'm just kidding." And they finish. He has the great finish at third. I think for Bubba having, and this is not the first driver to see it. I think we saw it with Kevin Harvick, when he had his son, and it kind of changed him and brought him down. You could say the same thing with Kyle Busch, and you've seen this time in and time out when these drivers, they have their kids. It kind of, I don't want to say humanizes them, but it brings so much perspective that I think they're less emotional in the race car. That makes them a better race car driver, because Bubba was a guy who was very emotional in the race car. I mean, and this seems, I mean, we go back to, when was he getting interviewed? And it's like, he's like, well, it just happens. We had a good car, and we'll look forward to next week. It wasn't Atlanta. It was, I want to say it was Phoenix when he had the brake issue.
It felt like
And
this
he just,
week.
Yeah.
well, that too.
I mean,
But
I know
like,
that's not what you're talking about, but that was kind of the same laissez-faire attitude he had.
yeah, he was like, about time we got this finish. He's like, we've had good speed all year. Like, you could tell he's like, it's clicking. And he is someone that has steadily improved each season at 2311, and is now like, I've moved from an if Bubba Wallace is going to win a race to when Bubba Wallace is going to win a race. At least it feels that way at this point, because if you're up there enough, it's going to fall your way. Because realistically, when he was in the lead and he gets a late race caution, his car was good enough on the short run where he could have won. He could have won this week. Like, one of those times, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Bowman doesn't get in the fence, and they're battling side by side. Maybe he wins. It's like it's getting really close.
To add on to your point real quick, something you said that I'm glad you reminded us all of is that Bubba Wallace has gotten statistically better every year of his Cup career. I pulled up the numbers just to get this exactly right. His average finish has improved every year since joining 2311. He has added to his, what am I trying to say? He's gotten more top fives, more top tens, every year since joining 23-11. The only major stat that he hasn't continued to improve is wins, because he got those wins early on. One was rain shortened, one was Kansas back when 23-11 and Toyota were dominating Kansas. So he hasn't added to his wins in a couple of years, but like last season, career high in top fives, top tens, best average finish. He had a pole awards, third most laps led. Like has slowly but surely gotten better year after year, which is why it's like the only stat that's left for him to like break out or burst is wins. He's just missing that 2-win season. That's kind of like was like with Blaney. It was like he was getting 1 win a year, and then finally he won like 3 in a summer, and it was like, oh, and then now he's kind of become a 3-win guy since then. Like Bubba Wallace is waiting to get that 2-win season, and this could be the year if the speed we saw at Homestead stays consistent.
I mean, the win could come this weekend. Like, he's good at Martinsville. It could come this weekend.
Well, I mean, I kind of want to remind you guys what I said earlier, which is that Homestead is a driver's track. It's a track made for a guy with talent. Bubba Wallace just led the most lap. Here's a stat. Bubba Wallace, it was the most laps. It was the most laps he's led in a cup race since Texas 23. So there is improvement there, and you saw him run well. Sorry, Massie, go ahead.
Oh, so I was just gonna say, there's something out that all comes full circle with the Bowman, Justin Haley stuff that was happening last year. Sometimes all it takes is for a team to bring in another driver or the illusion of another driver or something, and just lights a fire. They signed development driver Corey Heim. Corey Heim on Friday night beat Kyle Larson. All right. He beat Kyle Larson, and then his truck decided to turn off 3 times. And then Bubba goes out there and has a great race after that. I don't think that's a coincidence.
I'm going to take a bold take here and say that Bubba Wallace, who's the person the team was founded upon, is not the one that would have been on the chopping block.
I'm going to go with the guy who hasn't scored a single top 15.
Who also brings the most sponsorship to the team. I would argue.
I was going to say,
you can't go wrong with the fish car. It's the fish car.
I'm just saying.
But it was a bad look for him last year when he missed the playoffs and Reddick was the regular season champion.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah. That is a bad look, but there's also that also is a case of, again, with this car and so many different winners, that I think over time it's gonna be in perspective. Like, oh, he finished 17th in points. Oh, well, like 3 guys that were like 20th and 30th in points at one point in the season won, so that's why he was 17th in points. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you took the raw point score, it's not like that much of a difference. It's like a couple hundred. Like, it's all perspective. All right. We've gone too long. Eric, before we get on out of here, I would let you plug your stuff and anything else you want to get out to our loyal listeners.
No, well, I really appreciate you guys having me on. This was a good time, good topics, fun discussion. But yeah, I do Out of the Groove on YouTube almost every single day. If you're looking for daily news injected with a little bit of commentary and opinion, you can find me here, Out of the Groove. I'll give a small plug. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I will be streaming with some other NASCAR YouTube content buddies of mine, the Iceberg, Danny B, and I believe Breakhard will be joining us. So if you enjoyed the conversation tonight and you want to maybe hang out and have another conversation, a similar conversation tomorrow, you guys can tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's on my YouTube channel as well. Should be a good time. But I appreciate y'all having me on. This was fun, and we'll have to do it again sometime later this year.
We absolutely will.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Dalton, you're right in thinking this week, I assume, and you'll be for the watch party. Caleb Barnes, fresh off his Long John Silver's cruise, will be hosting the watch party, because I will be at Martinsville with Steven Stump. Massie, are you riding fire on Fridays?
Nah, I think it's vacation mode, Massie, now.
Okay.
Always vacation mode, Massie.
Got to get you on the Long John Silver cruise next.
No, he will go to the Margaritaville cruise. He'll be Mr. Margaritaville.
Michael Massie will not have his alarm on next week because he will not be here for his vacation. I think he he's getting older, and so 7:30 is his bedtime each week. So he's just building excuses here. But we want to thank our sponsor, My Place Hotels. We want to thank Eric, Dalton, Massie. Oh, before I leave, I forgot. I got to update the draft.
Lord.
Well, actually, check that. Our score calculator is on vacation, so he did not update it. So he did not before I leave.
We need an update. Who's winning the 1980 Virginia 500?
Yeah, it's not even on anymore.
It was not on anymore. It's actually now the current. So I have the NASCAR Tubi channel on my TV, folks, during this, just as a good background fodder. And they're now playing the Cup race. So I think it was Darrell Waltrip, but it was the 1980 Virginia. So we can Google this. Virginia 500.
It was Darrell
Okay.
Waltrip.
Wow.
For those of you
Context
listening,
clues.
Trey had the Virginia 500 on in the background.
That was on the Tubi
yeah.
channel, the NASCAR Tubi channel.
Oh, it was on the Tubi channel.
I didn't
Okay,
pick
yeah.
it, so it's on the NASCAR
Okay.
Tubi channel. So I just turned the NASCAR Tubi channel on because it's free on my TV as my background thing, better than a black screen. So I have a little show. All right.
Oh, hey,
What
Jose, I know I have Larson on my team, and he won the race, so good points week for me for our draft.
I have Bubba Wallace, and he finished third. And, Caleb has Bubba Wallace. I had Bubba Wallace. I have Alex Bowman, and he finished second. And of course Ryan Blaney, who blew up. I had Ryan Blaney and Ty Gibbs, who did terrible. All right, we'll see what happens next week. We'll have 2 weeks worth of updates for that. But for Eric, for Dalton, for Massie, I am Trey Lyle signing off for now. We'll be back next week with another episode of Happy Hour.
My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel partner of Front Stretch. With plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels, My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Front Stretch fans can use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% on your stay at any of our nationwide properties. Sign up for our Stay Rewarded program to get even more savings. With My Place Hotels, don't just stay rewarded.